Most Ponte Vedra Beach sellers don't lose money on the price. They tend to lose it in 5 places that nobody really talks about, and I'm going to walk you through every single one. I'm Gwen Volen with the Volen Group, and I help homeowners across Ponte Vedra Beach and Northeast Florida navigate exactly this every single week. So if any of this sounds familiar or you feel like you need some help, the easiest way to reach me is to call or text me at 904-822-9255, or you can book a time using the link in the description below. Everything you need is right there. So please stay with me to the end, because mistake number 5 is the one almost no one sees coming. It's not about pricing or prep at all. And at the end, I'm going to walk you through, I guess it's like a quick self-audit, so you can check your own home before you make any of these mistakes yourself. Here's the thing about this market. Right now in Ponte Vedra Beach, and when I say Ponte Vedra Beach, I'm referencing what I'll call core Ponte Vedra Beach, because I'm excluding South Ponte Vedra only because I think that is a very different market than 32082 right in the center of Ponte Vedra Beach. So within this area, only about 6% of homes are closing over list price. That's definitely a shift from a few years ago when almost every offer came in hot and you just accepted it, and people took offers and there were no inspections and all of that dreamy stuff that doesn't exist anymore. So in today's market, the sellers who do well aren't typically the ones that get lucky. They're the ones who avoid 5 specific, very fixable mistakes. So let's go through each of them so you don't make those mistakes yourself. Okay, so the first is probably pretty obvious, but it happens all the time. It's basing your price on hope instead of data. I see this all the time. Maybe it's what the neighbors house sold for 2 years ago. Maybe it's a number that just feels right because you know things are going to take off and the Inn Club is going to increase your price by 25% once it's completed. But either way, when a home is priced above where today's buyers are actually willing to pay, here's what happens. It sits. So days on the market stretch out for weeks and then months. And once a listing starts to look stale, buyers assume there's something wrong with it, even when there isn't. Then come the price reductions, which for buyers, can often read as a signal, not a correction. So you end up chasing the market down instead of meeting it where it actually is today. Once all of that happens, it pulls out what I'll call the bottom feeders, and those are not necessarily the buyers that you want to deal with. So the fix is simple to say, but sometimes hard to do. You've got to price for the current comp set, not the one you remember. And with that, talk to someone who really knows the market for your area, and then listen. You're paying someone as an advisor. So the second mistake I see is skipping the small repairs that have been on your list for years. So that's the sticking door or missing weather stripping, like in my house around my back door, an aging water heater. If the water heater is over 10 years, you're going to have to replace it. A roof that's 15 and a half years, if it's shingle, it's going to come up as a question mark. So none of those things are deal breakers on their own. But when a buyer's inspector finds them after you're already under contract, they don't read as minor when they're looking at the whole picture of a 75, 80-page report. These things end up becoming leverage for a buyer for a price reduction, a credit, or just renegotiating the contract, which is not something that many people get very excited about. So handling this stuff before you list, it does 2 things. It protects your number at the negotiating table out the gate, and it changes the buyer's first impression of the home, which matters more than people expect. So mistake 3 is treating marketing as an afterthought. A home that's only marketed with standard MLS photos and a generic description is competing against listings that are positioned, that are photographed with intention, where they're described as a story, and they're launched right at the correct moment when everything is pulled together to attract the most attention in the first few days. In a market where buyers have more choices and more patience, the homes that stand out aren't always going to be the nicest homes. They're the ones that are presented like it. So mistake 4 shows up after you're already under contract. The inspection report comes back and you receive a list of items, and it's easy to take that personally. As a seller, you're going to feel like a buyer is nickel and diming, you and picking on a home that you've taken good care of and that you've loved. But in inspection negotiations, they really aren't about the house. They're a structured part of the process, and how you respond either protects your equity or quietly gives pieces of it away. Sellers who go in with a plan and a calm attitude on what they'll address, what they won't, and where there's room to move almost always come out ahead of sellers who react emotionally in the moment. I see it over and over again, and those inspection requests can be super irritating for all parties. So here's the one I told you about that no one really sees coming. Mistake number 5 is mindset, not a checklist item. It's treating the sale of your home like a single transaction instead of a positioning exercise for you that starts months before the sign ever goes into your yard. Every decision when you list, how you prep, how the home is marketed, how you negotiate, it's all connected. Sellers who treat it that way land in a stronger position than sellers who just put the house on the market and hope for the best. So this is precisely why we built the market elevation method, and it comes down to 3 steps: prep, position, and present. Prep means addressing that handful of items that actually move price before a buyer ever sees them as a problem. Position means pricing from real current data, not memory or hope. And present means marketing your home the way a premium asset deserves to be marketed, so it gets noticed for the right reasons from day one. Run those 3 steps in order, and 4 of the 5 mistakes we just covered, they truly do take care of themselves. So finally, here's a 60-second self-audit. I want you to ask yourself the following. Do you know what comparable homes have actually sold for in the last 90 days, not 2 years ago? Is there anything in my home I've been putting off that an inspector would flag? If a buyer saw my listing photos right now, meaning someone went around and took photos and put them on the internet, would they stop scrolling, not because your house looked bad, but because it was fabulous and they want to buy it? And am I treating this as a plan or just a let's see what happens? So if you have an answer for these, none of it is a bad sign. It's just useful information. So if one does sound familiar, that's exactly the kind of thing worth talking through before you list, not after. So feel free to call or text me at 904-822-9255 or connect with me using any of the links in the video description below. And I'm so happy to come over, help you start, planning for things. We'll give you a quick audit of your house, as well as my opinions, and then you can decide if, you are ready or you want to put a good, strong plan in place to list your house.